If you're looking at what flight schools are saying about online training and when you should start your actual ground school, stick around. I've got some news for you. Hey, Steve here for Pitch for VY. I went out to the ground school that I want to go to, the flight school that is, that I want to go to here in Pensacola. It's called Pensacola Air Flight School. Here's just a shot of their parking lot, so to speak. It's shared by two different flight schools here, one using the higher wing Cessna and the other using lower wing Piper. Now, I wanted to get out onto the field and get some other shots of this area, but due to FAA restrictions and security reasons, I couldn't walk along the flight line out there. But that's understandable. If I had been a student at the time, I probably could have gone out there, but we've got to follow those FAA regulations anyway. Now, the flight school itself is located in a long line of aeronautical institutions, so to speak. There's a couple of flight schools out there, and a lot of Navy schools are out there as well. Now, back to the good advice that I got. I went and talked to them today. I'm waiting on my medical to come back. I had a cataract issue that I had to take care of. Once it was resolved and my eye surgeon told me everything was fine, and I got 20/20 vision again, and he gave the paperwork to me, the FAA documentation, and it's been submitted. I'm just waiting on the FAA to come back with a thumbs up, hopefully, that I can go ahead and proceed with my flight school. Now, I'm not wasting my time just waiting on them. I am going through ground school, which I explained to them online. I'm going online. I'm going actually through two flight schools. I'm using Pilot Institute, and I'm also using Sporties. And it turns out that the Pensacola Air Flight School actually does use Sporties. They have recommended that to their students as well. And there's another one, Jefferson, that one of the instructors recommended out of all the three. As far as I know, and I was told that I'm the only one so far to recommend Pilot Institute, or to mention, not because of it being any worse or any good or any better. It's just that none of the students have used it. They usually come in fresh right off the bat with no school preference, and they tell them to use Sporties. But I gave them a positive input on Pilot Institute as well, and they said they will be using that when their students ask, hey, you know, what ground school should I go to? Well, anyway, we're getting back to the topic. My apprehension with actually signing up to get the physical hands-on with the school, my apprehension laid in the fact that I haven't got my approval yet from the FAA, and you know, I don't want to invest a lot of time and money there at the school only to find out for some reason, and this is probably not going to happen, but I'm very skeptical about the way the government works. But what if they say no? And then if I have gone through, let's say I've gone through all the way up to almost my first solo flight. I can't solo without a medical. I could go through the other, training. But why go ahead and invest all this extra money if the FAA is going to say no? Now, they are talking to the people that are at the flight school, telling them the story. They said, oh, you probably pass. It's just, it takes the FAA months sometimes, or a few months to go ahead and get all the paperwork submitted and give you your waiver. Now, going back to my AME, my medical examiner for flight aviation medical examiner, I've been cleared there. I'm fine to go there. It was just the cataracts holding me up. So hopefully that'll be taken care of. But it was, again, my apprehension was, why spend all this money to go ahead and invest my time and money in this on-hands flight school for them to say no, and then I've been not wasted, but I have invested this money for no purpose at all other than to get basic training. Now, they also said that going through ground school through the online programs, the online ground schools, they highly recommend it. It's, if anything, it's a very minimal investment to my flight education. And I'm still going to proceed with that. There's no problem there. Like I said, I'm using both Pilot Institute and I'm also using Sporties. Jefferson, I have not. I've looked at a couple of videos of theirs. They look good, but I can't see enrolling in 3 different flight schools. I mean, as they put it too, they go, it doesn't hurt you to go through 2 different flight schools. The information is going to be the same. Both of them are reputable. Both of them are up to date and current. So you'll get the same information, but you may get it presented in a different manner. Sporty's has more of a video clip or videos that you can watch, and Pilot Institute is more of a lecture. Both of them basically recommend you have the same reading materials outside of their schools. So it's all FAA books and everything. So as they said, yeah, the information you're going to get, it'll be the same, but presented differently. So maybe if in the lecture you don't quite understand something, if you watch the video portion of it, something may click and it'll just come in. So it might just not be a bad idea to have 2 different points of view as far as your training goes. So that is that part about the medical exam. Their recommendations, my thoughts, but their recommendations are, before you invest money and your time in a physical flight school, go ahead and make sure you have that medical. Because it would really be disappointing. Can you imagine going through all the time and an effort, and you're up to your point where you've got to take your solo, but they can't let you solo unless you have your medical approved. Well, let's say you finally up to that time and you're waiting, and the FAA says no. You know, they have to discontinue training right there. They, by law, cannot give you a right. You cannot go in solo. So that was some good advice. Something was in the back of my head, and they just verified it. Now, another interesting thing I heard was talking about flight simulators, home flight simulators specifically, not the FAA approved ones that you see in flight schools. Or if you happen to be very rich, can afford to have an FAA certified flight simulator at home, but most of us can't do that. But the instructor said that every student they've ever had that's had and been dedicated to a flight sim that was basically more of a, I mean, beyond the gaming sims. I'm talking about the flight simulators like Prepared 3D, X-Plane, and even Microsoft Flight Simulator. They said that these students, the students they had, that had the experience in these flight simulators, built up some memory muscle, if they were serious about it and serious about going through the simming, built up muscle memory to proceed at a faster pace through the school itself. There was not that much of a learning curve, or as great as a learning curve as going through, through everything at scratch. Now, and they highly recommend, if you go through ground school online, regardless of what course you pick, and you do the flight sim, you've got that much more going for you in the long run. It won't hurt you. You may have to relearn a couple of things when you get into the real aircraft. Minor things, maybe small minor habits, because of course you're not going to get the same the same experience in a flight sim as you would in a real aircraft. But every instructor there said that their students, every instructor there that had a student that went through a flight simulator or using a flight simulator at home on a regular basis, they found to be better students. They were more capable of grasping changes. They had more muscle memory built up already. And especially if you fly in the simulator, a plane that you'll be training in. Again, going back to what their recommendations were, they said, look, you'll be training in either a Cessna, a Piper, or some small general aircraft piston engine. They said it would be kind of useless to spend your time flying a 747 and then coming in and trying to learn in a Cessna or a Piper. It would be better to fly in a flight sim, the plane that you're more familiar with, the one that you're actually going to physically be in. And I'm taking their advice. I mean, I had, back of my mind, I always thought about that and thinking, well, why not? And they just confirmed it. When you have several instructors there backing up what you're thinking and confirming it in their own eyes, well, I think that's some advice well taken. So, anyway, think about that. 2 things. Your medical, if you haven't got your medical yet cleared, before you actually get started in the flight school itself, go out and check it out, talk to the people. But before you actually commit that money and that time, wait until you have that piece of paper in your hand. 2, if you are simming and you do it on a serious basis, so to speak. I'm talking about, when I say serious, I mean you're not just farting around. You're going out there and really trying to learn the instruments and everything. With that, along with the online training, whatever course you take, you will be more prepared for the actual physical hands-on flight school, and probably find out that you've got a lead on other students that are starting from scratch with no experience at all. Well, this is Steve from Pitch for VY. That was my advice from the flight school that I was going to, Pensacola Air Flight School. And until next time, fly safe.